This is the Refuge Project.
Welcome to the Refuge Project. The Refuge Project is a place to have meaningful conversation in a safe place. I feel like this office is the safest place ever.
It's pretty safe.
Right? I mean, we talk about it every week how safe it is.
I mean, you know, there's no candy in here, but like there's no windows in here either. So, you know, like them vans where like, hey, look good.
Dude,
So I don't know how safe
I just went to Christina's office looking for the SD card.
Yeah.
You know, she's got all them toys in there. You seen those toys before?
Yeah.
I had no idea. It
Really?
was amazing.
She's
She's got a
been-
whole wall of toys.
She's been saving those toys since you were in her Sunday school.
Maybe one of ththose was my toy.
That's all the toys that she takes away when kids are bad.
I'm pretty sure that there's some collectibles in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
It might be interesting
I
to see
didn't know.
how
That was what I learned today.
the
though,
gold
so
mine
far.
that's in there.
It was pretty cool.
How awesome is it to have a children's pastor that's been with you that long and that experience, and you know, like a lot
Very awesome.
of. Oh,
There's the answer.
is it very?
It's very. What are you doing?
Computer's dying.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, y'all. We're extra professional today. I forgot my headphones, which was right next to the SD card. So we've been problem solving on how to record today, and now the computer's dying apparently.
But we won't let you down. We're here.
Is this still recording?
It's going. It's there. We are here.
This is how my day started. You
We're
ready?
not going nowhere.
Yeah, you're one. You can go there. I woke up, as I do most mornings, and then I was procrastinating getting out of bed, and so I was messing around my phone for 5 minutes.
That's not a normal thing.
It depends on the day.
Are you normal? Just pop up and
I try.
go-
I try to do that more often than not. But anyway, that's
You
not
know what kills me? Wait, before you go, you know what kills me is I'll tell somebody, we gotta set our alarm. Oh no, I have to set my alarm 30 minutes before so I can hit snooze 4 times.
Yeah. What are you doing?
That's the worst habit to get into.
It's the worst, and it's not like you're getting good sleep.
No.
You're still just
As soon as you fall back asleep, 8 minutes later, the thing's going off again.
yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Anyways,
But so usually I try to just alarm goes off, I get up.
So I'm guilty of that.
are you?
But we all do it at
You're a
some point.
snoozer.
Yeah, I mean,
I never snooze it, but I will lay there sometimes for another 5.
Oh, I got to get up or snooze, because I will go right back to bed.
I found out if I roll over and lay on my stomach, I won't fully fall asleep.
Yeah, I would just have a
I
backache
might get
the rest
kind
of
of
the day.
doesn't. Well, it's just for a few minutes again. I'm getting up, but anyway, I'm laying there, messing around for a second, and then I'm on my left side, right? So right side up, and I just feel suddenly, just a liquid just pour out of my nose all of a sudden, just past my mustache, just straight onto the sheets. It's just dumping, just out of nowhere, and I'm looking. I go, "What is this?" So I jump up real quick, and it's blood. I'm just nosebleed out of nowhere. But not even like a little.
Did you have like a UFC fight the night before or anything?
I've never had a nosebleed like this where it's just pouring. It was crazy. Dude.
only
It was bleeding
UFC
all
fighters
morning.
and geeks get nosebleeds.
Yeah, so that was me.
Which one are you?
I was geeking this morning, dude. I was geeking. I've never had that happen where
Wow.
I get a nosebleed occasionally, but it's like a little drizzle or like you wipe your nose and, oh, that's blood.
Maybe you should take your blood pressure.
I don't know. It was a one-time thing.
How
But so now I
often-
got to go
how-
clean the sheets, dude. I had to jump up. It
How
was
often do
great.
you take your blood pressure?
Never. When do you?
Yeah.
How do
probably-
you take your blood pressure?
After you're 67, you got to do that
You
quite
got a
regularly.
blood pressure machine at home? What do you-
Actually, right next to my bed.
How often are you taking your blood pressure?
More often than you think.
Yeah.
You know, I make fun, but yesterday, check this out.
Y'all gonna, I was just in pastor's office and we were talking about some stuff.
Blood pressure?
blood pressure
and,
medication.
and I was just, talking about, pastors in their 70s, and I made some, comments about old pastors.
There you go.
And he goes, "Well, I'm only 4 years away." I'm just like, "Oops."
Whoops.
So now I know how y'all feel. You know what I mean?
You felt good about it? You
I
felt
didn't. I didn't.
Because we
But
feel good.
y'all should feel worse.
We feel awesome. We-
No, it was the weirdest thing yesterday. Yesterday at 5 p.m., I closed my computer, done with the work of the day. Then all of a sudden, I get this massive headache, almost like vertigo. I had just no directionality whatsoever.
You took your blood pressure, didn't you?
Well, no, but you know, it was. I'm telling you, it was immediate, and then I just found myself throwing up for over an hour. You ever throw up for more than an hour, like
Not in
straight
a long time. It's a bad time.
Throw up for an hour?
for an hour? Yeah.
Not since I've been drunk.
That's a bad time.
Mm-hmm. Well, no drinking here, but that happened, and then now I feel fine. I feel great. I had some spearmint tea that my grandma whipped up, and
You ate something bad.
it
Glad
was,
we don't share microphones.
yeah, it was something because you know it's not anything that's I feel fine. It wasn't a contagious thing or whatever,
Yeah,
but
you
I
just ate
was
something bad.
I was just out for the whole night.
You know, we have a couple in our church that always says that. You know,
What?
I'm
It
not.
ain't contagious.
I'm not claiming to be sick. You know, and they come to church and they got COVID or the flu or whatever. As long as I don't claim it, I don't got it.
Nah,
This was yesterday.
Yeah, yeah,
you
you know.
probably had some bad chicken at that pickleball place.
well, it was.
probably what it was.
I had chicken that day, but it wasn't at the pickleball place. I didn't have chicken there, but yeah, I think it was some I
You
ate.
definitely ate
Some
something
like
bad.
reheated chicken.
Last time I had something like that happen to me, I ate something.
We were
bad.
just talking about pickleball, the chicken and pickles or whatever it is.
Yeah, they went on Sunday.
The
But
pastor was talking about
I
it.
couldn't
Yeah, it was
go.
pretty fun.
Yeah, that's what he was
I
saying.
was sad I missed it, but
He told us that we needed to go next time.
I've never played pickleball, but I'm pretty sure I would wreck shop.
So,
I'm pretty sure.
so
I would
in
dominate.
our community tennis courts,
Not the country club.
not the country club, community, it's all, everybody can go.
the courts that we hang out.
There was 4 tennis courts. Nobody ever played. Matter of fact, they took the tennis nets down and they just practiced t-ball. And now they just redid all the surfaces and put 8 pickleball courts up.
And now
Apparently,
people
it's
play
like
all the time.
Now it's full all the time.
it's
makes
the
sense.
fastest growing sport in America now.
Yeah.
Because you can get as aggressive as you want, or you just can relax. Some old people back there just hitting the ball back
It's
and
great
forth.
for old people, so you might like it
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
Do you know there's pickleball shoes?
Pickle shoes.
Pickle shoes. We were at the Nike,
What's Traction?
Nike
What is it?
outlet in.
At an outlet, so you can get them for a deal.
Oh, they.
Oh, hey, where's the? Hey,
In wherever out there off 290, the 290 shops. That was a good one. And there was shoes. They were super dope looking shoes, and then it said pickleball on the side of them. I was just like,
could just get a Sharpie.
You were just talking about your fake $30 shoes yesterday. You can't
but
pass that kind of
pickle.
judgment.
And the other thing is, I guess they were pickleball specific shoes.
Yes.
That's a big word for me, y'all.
Yeah.
Specific.
And the
Specific.
heel kind of did an angle up. So I don't know. So I guess you
It
could,
wants to keep you on your toes. That's probably literally what it is. No joke. That's probably it.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Like Nike's making special pickleball shoes now.
I believe it. Yeah. Why not? If it's the fastest growing sport or whatever you said, they'd capitalize.
Are you good at badminton?
I think I've played badminton like once,
We
but
both-
I'm amazing at ping pong for an amateur.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You said amazing. You didn't say good.
Yeah. For an amateur,
Amazing.
yeah. If as just casual people playing at the party, I'll
dominate.
I'll dominate. If you put me in like an actual league or something, I will get dominated. You know, there's these different levels. But
yeah.
if it's just a bunch of us hanging out, oh, there's a ping pong. Y'all want to play some ping pong? I will destroy.
Do y'all watch the UFC? Or did you watch the UFC this
I've
past
only
week?
watched it that time we went with you.
Oh, bro. Okay, I'll just save my comments for some other people.
Some other.
To the
You know
UFC
where it
was
is.
just-
It's hey, I get it.
Oh, it was amazing this past weekend.
Well,
It was UFC at 300, so it was like a big deal.
yeah. Trump
it
show
was-
up again?
No Trump. No Trump at this one.
He's busy now.
Yeah, he's
Makes
out
sense.
there running the campaign and stuff like that.
Yes.
But him and
Hey, what's going on with his convictions? I heard he got convicted.
yeah, he got convicted, but it was, I mean,
What's the word?
he's just
Because
it's under appeal right now.
Okay, but what was the one he got convicted for?
This is what's crazy about this. So he overvalued his property
Yeah, I heard
and
that.
then took a loan on it. Repaid the loan,
That's right. Yeah.
years ago, and then now they are charging him for that.
Yeah, but they got it. They
But the
indicted him.
but the bank was like, no, it's cool,
yeah.
and they're like, nah, it's not cool.
Yeah. See, I've heard this story already, but what I don't know is they've didn't they indict him on like 70 things? So that would be one thing.
That's
right?
the only thing that stuck.
So all the rest, but now he got convicted for some. So that's what he got convicted
That's what he got
for.
convicted
But
for.
was it against the law, or is it against the law still, or at that time, I guess, to do that?
Yeah, it's some
Well-
kind of fraud because it's like you're.
It is, but so from my understanding, it's like it's one of those against the law, but a common thing that rich
Yeah.
people do.
Yeah, for sure.
And the bank, they know.
Yeah. And
So
he
it's
paid
not
him back.
it's not like they're hiding it from the bank either. Like the banks know,
Mm-hmm.
like we do good business together.
Yeah.
You need this money. It's cool.
Yeah. My confusion though was you see all the headlines, and so if it's if it's a pro-Trump thing, it's like something like you just said.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it's an anti one, then it's like Trump convicted on 73 charges.
Right,
It's
right.
like so blown that I'm like, what's up?
It's not going to stick. It's going to go to
But
like
is that the only one?
That's the only
because
one.
I feel like I read headlines. That
no.
was
There's more that they're going to eventually charge him with. Like this
Yeah.
is not the end of it.
No, we're not close enough.
But the other ones he's not convicted of. The other ones are like, hey, we want to go take you to court.
So they just took a whole lot of stuff and threw it against the wall, and then this was the one that stuck.
So that's the only one that's been convicted.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be interesting. They're going to take
Which
it to
that
the
doesn't
Supreme
bother
Court.
me. That's like, to me, is expected.
My thing
If
is,
you didn't think that Trump was doing stuff like that, like you're so
All
out
of
touch.
them.
Yeah, everybody.
okay, do you remember when
Not to say it's right or wrong or whatever,
who-
but if you were surprised that
who
you
had the
heard
bit?
that, like,
Somebody
you're
had
out.
a bit. It was a big comic. What's the I was gonna say the big black comic, but not
Could be-
not big. Like he's very popular.
Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle had a bit on it, and it was.
You know that one, the big black one.
He said, "Well, what's her name? Dadgummit.
You can't remember anybody's name.
I'm terrible at names.
Okay, Dave Chappelle said.
Dave
That's how
Chappelle-
far we've gotten.
Clinton.
Clinton. All right.
Remember when she was running against Trump, right? And she was just like, Trump's cheating on his taxes.
Yeah.
Right? And
And he was like, yeah, for sure.
he goes, yeah, I am.
He's like, so are you? so
But
is
you
everybody.
and your people are one that put the laws in to allow me to cheat.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how all these things
The
are.
chart. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So they're just trying to do whatever they can do to keep him out of office.
Yeah.
Which would be great.
Uh-huh.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
But that means 4 more years of Biden. And I have a problem with that. It's like Weekend at Bernie's every week.
Yeah, it's not good, dude. Not good.
Oh man. And listen, the only thing I like about Trump is
That he's not Biden.
that he's not he's gonna tell you exactly how it is. Like whatever is in his head, he's gonna just say.
Yeah.
So you know where he's at. Everybody else has these lies that's coming from some bigger place.
Well, you kind of know where he's at, but he's also.
That's why they didn't tell. That's why they didn't tell Trump about the aliens. They're like, look, this dude is going to tell everybody if we tell him about the aliens.
You mean the government programs?
Yeah,
That are,
even
that
the
what you're
government-
talking about?
Even the government programs are not like, no, don't tell the president. He'll let everybody know.
Don't say this, and then on True Social, as they're telling him.
Did y'all hear? Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. So the new thing is the aliens are coming from under the water. Did you hear about that?
That's not new, dude. That's old.
I mean, well, it's like the new alien.
I was saying
things.
that like a decade ago.
Really?
No, they're coming over the border.
I said, whoa, he's on it today, folks. There it is.
Those are not aliens.
They are.
They're
They're illegal.
What are they? They're
illegal.
misplaced.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. They're migrants. They're
misplaced migrants.
misplaced. They're MMs.
Not
MMs.
MS. A lot of them are MS too.
Yep.
So
Moving quick. They're monitoring our chatter.
Yeah, no, the longer the alien stuff goes on, the more I'm like, it's for sure. Well, nice. That was sweet.
Boy, missed the desk.
I was like, boy. That was good, dude. But the more I'm like, for sure that's just some government programs.
The aliens?
Yeah.
Which ones?
The UAP stuff.
The border or the
I have a NASA laptop.
more.
I have a NASA laptop in here. I'm like, shut up, Jacob, listen.
It's true. It might be NASA, dude. Maybe it's NASA.
Elon says, if anybody should know about aliens, it would be me. I haven't seen anything.
That's what he says.
Unless he is the leader.
What he said.
He might be the leader.
But that just points to what I just said, is that they're probably just government stuff and not
you take the
Mars
smartest
or
man in the
something.
world, he might be the leader of the aliens.
You think so? Could be.
Is he the smartest though?
Oh, man.
I mean, he's no doubt he's smart, but the smartest?
Well, he's the smartest dude that's actually doing something. I mean, he does have all the money.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can you imagine just like, he's just a little boy playing with toys.
I mean, that might be a little oversimplification. He's not Christina over there, but
No, but he's just grown. He just has man toys.
yeah. Yeah.
I like his.
But he's not just playing. He is working like 80 hours a week.
But for him, he's just playing. That's what smart people do.
I see.
I mean,
I get the take.
it would be harder for us to understand some of the, well, at least me. I'm still playing with dump trucks in the dirt.
You got a nice truck though now. You got a good one.
Oh,
We never break away from being kids. I mean, we just
we're just older.
and have more money to buy better toys.
Expensive toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially men. Women mature.
Yeah.
We
They
don't.
just don't have the money. Hey.
Because we're spending all of our toys.
Hey.
Hey, no more. Hey,
Hey.
I got a lot of heat.
Hey.
I got a lot of heat for,
Hey.
for your women take the
Hey.
couple
Women
of-
buy your toys. Go ahead. Hey.
for the women are nasty take.
Everybody's nasty. That's my take.
That's not what your take was.
I was just specifically talking about women. You want me to tell you about how
No, no,
nasty
no.
you are? Because I can do it, dude. We're all disgusted. I just told you I had blood just dripping out of my face this morning for no reason. I got to clean the sheets
No,
now.
your blood pressure is too high. I'm telling you.
I don't think it was too high when I was just sleeping, hanging out. We're disgusting, dude. I do some nasty stuff. You do some nasty stuff. I've seen you do some nasty stuff. Dude, every week on here, at some point, this is David will just in the background, just something. He's disgusting. We're all nasty, dude. And women are no exception. They are also disgusting in their own. You look at him go, dude.
There he is.
They are also disgusting in their own womanly way. In their own individual way. They're all nasty, dude.
You know
We're
what?
all gross. That's my take.
When
You made me feel like I'm in the back seat of my mom's car picking my burgers and eating them.
Oh, you're disgusting. That would be mild compared to what you do, dude. I don't know what you've got going on in your sinuses like every day, but they're always just...
Bro, the allergies out here are serious.
Dude, you just wait till like 20 minutes from now. He's going to make one of them sounds. It's going to be wild. You're going to see it on his face because he's going to feel himself about to make the noise. And he's going to be trying to stop it.
It's real. Whatever it is, it's real. Doctors can't figure it out.
I don't know what's so nasty about Caesar, but I'm sure he's nasty.
oh no,
I'm
I'm disgusting. I am disgusting. Yeah, and my wife is saying amen.
Yeah, man.
You know, whenever we first got married, we have the benefit of having 2.5 bathrooms at home. David has like 8, but
I only got 4.
but we have
5 if you count the one in the bathroom.
He's got more
Closet.
bathrooms than most people have bedrooms.
I got 6 total on the property. Because the
Every
apartment
time
above
He
the
keeps
garage.
remembering bathrooms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
oh
and
yeah,
there's-
then this one, yeah,
and there's the
Why
one
do
with
you always bait me into this? I'm not supposed to be talking about it. And Sandra gets so mad.
oh, anyway,
all them bathrooms. He's still nasty.
I just, and I told her, and it's still to this day. We're moving into our 10 years pretty soon. Next year's our 10-year anniversary. But anyway, I told her, hey, that's your bathroom. This is my bathroom, and those two shall never mix.
Hey, fair enough.
Just because.
So you share it with the kids or what?
The kids, they go wherever, you
Yeah.
know, wherever. But as far as like my stuff, I over there, and I just don't want to, you know, I'll say this in the family friendliest way I can, right? It's just, I think there's just certain things that keep the fire in a relationship going, and there's certain things that don't.
Yeah.
And it's just
David's
odors
smiling.
and
He's just
I
smiling.
just, you know,
Seeing you try to figure out the way to say what you're trying to say is nice.
Don't, because you're about to put the fire out.
because I don't want to get in trouble either. You know, it's just that everybody has their thing.
Everybody's nasty.
Everybody nasty.
I'm saying, dude. You act like I'm crazy because I pick.
No, and for me, that just is one of the things that helps me just, you know, keep the sexiness alive.
There you go. And nothing says sexy like Caesar. So we're sponsored by Blue Chew, by the way.
No, stop!
We got a new sponsor.
That's when you got to check your blood pressure.
All of a sudden, since we've been sponsored, now everybody's blood pressure's high.
So how many people were asking you, David? How many people were asking you about it? Did anybody ask for a discount code?
Yeah. Use code Refuge Project. Could you imagine?
I can tell you
Dude,
that.
could you imagine even if let's say hypothetically Blue Chew came to us and said, hey, we want to sponsor you guys. You just give us a shout out every episode. Here's X amount of money. Could we even accept the sponsorship?
You know, I think for a church that we have an older generation, that it would be in the. I think it would
Probably shouldn't, right?
I no, the other way around.
think
Oh,
that
you
it-
think it should?
I think that if we
if we encourage health, men's health, women's health here in different ways, if you're a healthier couple, then
We're
you-
encouraging health.
You're gonna be
I like the way.
you're gonna be more beneficial to the kingdom. You know, there's so many. And how many people do you like in throughout the course of a year come to you to older people come and want some advice, some discipleship, some direction into their romantic life, into the intimacy that they share, and there's a lot of issues there with older people, and I feel like it is because see, look, if the church is not advising on these things, the world
come
is.
on, I had a gentleman sit right across where y'all are, and he wanted to know if people were still having sex in their 60s, and I looked him in his eye and I was just like, I hope so. I'm not there yet, but I sure hope so.
You say, look, what you need some more bathrooms.
My grandma and my grandparents were the most spiritually sound people in my life. Mm-hmm. Grandfather was a preacher my whole life. Grandmother was just an amazing lady. They were part of the early church here. Mm-hmm. You know, they went with your great grandmother.
Yeah.
And but as far as I can remember, they slept in separate twin beds.
That was
And
the thing.
it
was a thing
I thought it was
back
like the
in the
Lever the Beaver type deal, right?
Yeah.
Y'all don't even know what Lever the Beaver is.
I know it is. But
I asked my grandma. I said, you know, Grandma, y'all sleep in two separate beds. Like, why do you do that? She goes, son. She goes, I know you won't understand this now, but I'll tell you later. But what I will tell you, have you seen the worn path in between the two beds? And I was just like, all right, Grandma.
the warm path.
All right, y'all making some trips back and forth.
The path.
I like my girl close to me in bed, and we're having actually a debate right now. And let's just talk about this.
Is it gonna get you in trouble?
This is not going to get me in trouble.
I hope so. Let's go.
But Sandra wants a larger bed.
To get a larger bed. Debate.
She wants
done.
the king.
California King.
But I like the queen because I want her right there. I think she's trying to get away.
She's trying to get away.
That's what you think she's saying.
Oh,
Also-
she's
Not
definitely
saying-
saying that. Like,
Yeah. Also, if you wanted to, you could scoot over in a king.
Yeah,
You could.
because I do a little snoring. You know what I mean? So she's trying to.
Now, is it a little snoring or a lot?
It's a
of
lot.
snoring?
I keep the whole house up sometimes.
Don't you have the mask?
I should, but I'm refusing. I don't know if you call this the Holy Spirit or what. Okay,
All right, let's hear it.
but
Tell me about the spirit.
I think for whatever reason I got this inside of me that one day they're gonna come and say this is the worst thing that we could have done for everybody. This is those
Those
masks. and, like,
APAP, whatever things.
yeah, I don't know why, but I just feel it inside of me.
What do
So-
you say to
There's
all
a
those
lot,
people
there's
that
a
are
lot
like,
of people here that use them.
I know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying for me, for whatever reason, I don't know if it maybe I'm stubborn and Lord forgive me if I'm putting your name on this, but so that's why I'm on my mission to lose weight
yeah, there you go.
because I know that there is a line in my weight that if I get underneath it, my snoring goes away.
Nice.
So
How's it going, by the way?
I'm 10 pounds down.
Ayo.
I was 6 last week,
Where's my
10
clap?
this week.
Clapping. Clapping.
So that's my commitment to my wife and to my health is to at least get to that line and try to live a healthier life.
Yeah, I saw this photo of you over here earlier today. I was moving stuff around.
That's a young man.
Hey, man. Look at that guy.
Look at that.
guy, dude.
Look, he's got color in his goatee.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I just noticed yours is white. It's not. Yeah. That's a good looking guy right there. Look at that guy, dude.
That guy right there was messed up.
But
The
he
guy right
looked
there had lots of
good, But
problems.
he looked real nice.
I was working through them, but I had lots of problems.
Yeah, yeah. How old's that picture? 45 years?
20 years ago,
20 years ago.
probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, that works.
So what did you decide on the bed?
I think I want to give in. You know,
Yeah, get a big dude.
whatever. What
guy in
the
your
end
position-
of the day,
Here's the thing. Once you get a certain level of money, you owe it to society to spend it in a proper, fun way. You
me
need
too.
to enjoy it.
I agree that we save,
Get you a good
but at
bed.
the same time,
Here's
I
the
don't
thing.
mind
I got a
spending money.
king bed.
do you?
Yeah, I have a king bed.
I have a queen and I want a king.
So
I love
if
making-
I've got a king. You need a king.
There's nothing more than I love to do more than anything else is make my wife happy. I mean, I love
I bet you that makes her happy.
it. It would make her
And
happy.
like I said, you can still scoot over, dude. Y'all don't have to stay all the way on
but I
the
like
edge.
tucking my hand right underneath her at night.
Yeah, you just
knowing that
scoot
she-
over and you.
I don't have to be reaching for her and like wondering where she's at.
Nah, dude, she's gonna be right there. And whenever you need her, you just slide over.
I guess. But the thing, this is the thing about
But
it.
like, do you generate a lot of heat, like body heat?
Oh,
I
I
You-
bet
do.
he does.
Yes.
Maybe that's why she don't want you.
Bro, I'm
Yeah.
I'm a night sweater. Ooh, it's rough. I'm gonna invent. I figured it out, and since I've been doing this,
They already invented it.
they probably have.
They
But
did?
since I've been doing this, I've no longer sweated it. So if I want to take a half blanket, half sheet. So from my waist down, blanket,
Like a crop top.
and from the waist up, just sheet. And that's how I've been sleeping,
You can make that.
bro. I think a lot of sweaty men would enjoy it.
Dude, I'm in. First off, I'll give you the investment. Let's take it to Shark Tank. Let's make a prototype. I'm in. What do you call it? What do you call it? You need
That
an
we need a
amazing
good
name.
name. That We
Sweaty
need-
sheets. You need. No, it needs to be. Sweaty sheets make it sound like sheets are sweaty. We are preventing this, and we don't want that.
Can you imagine Mr. Wonderful? You pull out a half blanket, half sheet.
Look, dude, he just wants to know your sales. All right, so we can hustle. We can get some sales.
We can
We'll
get
start a
some
Kickstarter, GoFundMe, whatever. We'll get it going. I'm in.
All right, well, let's do it. I'm telling you, save on deodorant.
So not only are you more comfortable, but you're saving money.
Save it on okay.
Oh my gosh.
So when they come in, they sold me my water filtration system on their house. They were just like, not only you're gonna get the best water you ever, but you have to use less soap. You have to use all. That's what these sheets are. You have to use. You don't have to take a bath like every 2 weeks.
Going back to your earlier comment.
just say you took a bath, do
People
we?
are nasty.
I'm telling you, man, people are disgusting. Now, he hasn't mentioned anything about Sandra, and that's a good idea.
Yeah.
She can't be just amazing
now
in
I
there,
see
too.
why she wants to leave.
Yeah, she's trying to scoot over. Look, get the good bed. Get the nice sheets.
This is the thing. So, 15 years ago, we bought a bedroom suit.
Yeah, man, it's time.
Hardwood, made in America. It's still good.
Yeah.
If I get a bigger bed, guess what?
What?
Got to rebuy all that stuff.
Do you? You can't just get... You talking about like a dresser and all that other stuff?
Yeah, because it's not going to match. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the same. And
Well, just pick out a bigger bed that still matches.
They don't make sleigh beds anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. Why not?
Well, she's not going to want,
It just needs to
The
be
same.
the right color, right?
I don't know.
Or a color that goes
I don't think
with
this
the
is
other
going to
stuff.
go well. I think this is going to end up costing me like $15,000 or something.
Maybe Tesla makes a bed.
Yeah, Tesla probably
Costs
makes...
you $100K now.
Yeah, everybody, it's so funny. Because anytime anybody hears anything about, a recall on Tesla, Pastor Dave,
How you do it?
did you get that recall? And I'm like, yeah. How come you don't come to me about every time Dodge and Ford and Chevy have a recall?
Because you ain't driving.
They have more recalls than,
They're worried about your safety.
You know how they fix my recall?
How they do it.
They send me a download.
Yeah. And you re-download it. Yeah.
And they just download it while I'm sleeping and the recall's done.
That's wild.
Well,
And
you're
amazing.
sleeping, but nobody else is because that's snoring.
Yeah.
Right now, Tesla
Yo.
did the full auto drive thing, free for everybody for a certain period of time. Bro,
Life changing?
I'm telling you, if you didn't have to have your hands on the wheel anyways,
Yeah.
I'd buy it.
Ooh.
I would buy it.
How much it cost? Less than a new bedroom set, or
Yeah, I
about
think
the
it's
same?
like if you pay cash for it right now it's 5 G's or $100 a month. But the regular price is $10,190 or $199 a month.
Is that a one-time forever subscription?
The
type thing?
10,000 is one time. 199 is a subscription going forward. Yeah, but it's. I thought this we have the maintain the lane or whatever it is. You just click it and it stays in the lane and it goes as far as this thing will go. It's gonna go. Yeah. If somebody slows down in front of you, it'll slow down, but then it'll pick up to whatever max speed that you set, and it just. Because that's the thing about like cruise control, right? It always if you come up too fast, you have to turn the cruise control off and then reset it. When this just keeps up with traffic. Now, I leave my driveway and hit church.
Oh no.
You're done. Sit back and eat your kolache. You know what I mean? But you have to keep your hands on the steering wheel because if it recognizes your hands down on the steering wheel for so long, it'll tell you, look. Put your hands on the steering wheel, it's going to turn yourself off. But if I could just spin my chair around and talk to my kids and do homework, done.
Yeah.
It drives better than I do.
I believe that.
I do believe that too.
I
You
believe
know,
all
I mean,
of this.
it's scary, because you just don't know when you're coming around the freeway and you're getting to another freeway and it's the big overpass and you're doing 70 and you just. Are we gonna slow down? Are we gonna slow down? At the last minute, it slows down and it does its thing. But it's the anxiety of not
Being in control.
being in control. Yeah, that's the weirdest part about it.
I believe it.
But it'll change lanes, and then you have different settings. Like if you just want a chill setting, and it won't, it'll just stay and just keep up with traffic. Or if you want it more aggressive, sucker will change lanes, go around people, and
I think I'd keep it on a chill setting.
no, I do aggressive.
You just,
I live an aggressive life.
I don't trust other people's aggression.
But
I don't trust robot
It's
aggression.
definitely wild, man. I can see it coming.
Yeah, we have more so. We're getting into that iRobot reality with that Will Smith movie.
Yeah, in Arizona, there's a little rich town there in Arizona, where the college is, right outside the college. What's that Christian college over there in Arizona? My son and daughter both graduated from it, so I should.
Wow, and you don't know.
I should know.
That's a
Anyways,
Phoenix?
yeah, it's right outside of Phoenix.
University of Phoenix.
No. This is a Christian college. Anyways,
Christian University.
they have taxis, no drivers.
I like that.
It's in.
You don't have to talk to somebody.
You do it, and you know what's cool about this? The Tesla too. They have the summons deal,
Oh yeah.
and you just like if you're at the front of the grocery store, you summons your car, and the car come pick you up.
I saw this one video of they had that auto driver thing function on, and it made an unexpected left turn. Yeah, in like traffic. But it did it safely. It navigated through safe, but it was an unexpected left turn, and I was just like, wow, that's concerning.
Well,
The problem is also at some point if that thing messes up, like is Tesla liable? Like, you know, like how does that work?
Yeah,
if
I'm
you get in
sure-
a wreck, and
I'm sure because you have to agree to all that stuff when you turn. You know, the first time you turn it on. I don't know what I agreed to, but I agreed.
Yeah,
to
I
some.
think I'd feel more safe if I was, maybe in a small town at first, kind of trying that out,
Yeah.
rather than a big old metropolitan.
But really, the
It
thing
works,
is, you
but-
got to have every car on the road like that if you want them to really work.
Well, that's why they did this because they wasn't getting enough data from the self-driving, so they were just like, okay, all the Teslas at one time get the self-driving, and they're hoping they're getting as much data back to improve.
Smart.
Yeah.
But to me though, unless you get 100% of the cars on the road that are all self-driving, like
Yeah.
you're not going to really
Yeah.
be able to maximize.
But you know what? No matter how good the software ever is, you could
yeah.
never account for Billy Bob out there.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
but
the
that's
thing.
my point. Is not everybody is gonna.
But the
buy
software is
in.
way safer than people.
If you got everybody,
Even if it glitches once out of every million,
yeah,
there's way more accidents by people than that.
for sure,
So,
for sure.
but it's actually Tesla works better in a bigger city than small towns because everything's based on like lines in the road. You go to some country towns, there's no lines, so it kind of stutters back and forth because it really doesn't know where to be on a road that doesn't have painted lines and different things like that. So
Dude, I seen back in the day, I'd watch all these old, like I guess it's a documentary, but not really because it's talking about the future.
any new docs that I need to be watching right now?
I did see the that one about the pedophiles in Hollywood.
The
the backstage, or what is it called, with the Nickelodeon stars.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch that one.
Yeah.
I told you about that one.
Yeah, you did. I need to write that down because I was
It's
looking
like I said, it's like 5 episodes. Could have done it in like 1.5.
Yeah, and then they really don't bring up any hard
I
accusations.
know, and that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
That was it. I said this on there before. It's like the first 3. What's the dude's name? I'm blanking on the guy's name.
The main guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I know his name.
Peter something.
No, it's
whatever.
not Peter. It's not Peter Griffin. It's not. Well, get the name.
Why does it have to
It's
be
really
Peter?
bothering-
Why
I
does it have
don't
to be
know.
Peter?
But the whole time they're just like, hey, this for the first like 3 episodes, they're like, he's not so nice. He's kind of a bad boss. He made a bad joke. And you're just like, okay, but like I heard there's pedophiles here. Let's get to the pedophiles. And then it's like another episode. He's still kind of mean. He asked for a
Every
massage.
boss in 1980.
Dude, and it's like, for sure he was a jerk. What was his name?
Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider.
Schneider,
Yeah, it's like
and
Dan
it's
Schneider's
called-
kind
it's
of
called
mean.
Quiet on the Set.
Yeah.
The dark side of kids TV.
Yeah, but I'm like, I heard they're like, oh yeah, there was all these pedophiles. You got to watch it. I said, okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. In 3 episodes,
James is like, I'm in for
I'm
the
in.
pedophile.
Let's hear it. I want to know I want to know what child star got what. Let's hear about.
Yeah,
it. Let's
yeah,
go
no,
find out. I'm
Because
interested.
it was like very clear cut. We're gonna name names.
3 episodes. Dan Schneider's mean, and I'm just like, get to the pedophiles already, dude. And it was like. He made maybe a risque joke, and you're like, okay, I get it. He's a jerk, and he said some inappropriate. Let's get to the pedophile.
Yeah, everything in the early 2000s, early 90s, and before was risque jokes dealing with like,
Right, yo, for sure.
Everything.
Smoking on airplanes and the whole nine. Hey, this is my thing. There's got to be something. Because have you ever met a child actor that's made it out on top?
No. Oh, and that was my other point, is probably like 80% of the things that the actors and or their parents were complaining about was just kind of like general child actor problems, and just like in general. They're like, yeah, my kid has all these issues with acceptance and blah, blah, blah because of their time at Nickelodeon. It's like, but it was just kind of, that's how that
Well,
world
because
is.
they didn't go to school and get.
Yeah, it was just kind of like if
adapted
any
to-
child actor would be dealing with this. And this is not a Dan Schneider support. I'm sure he was a jerk, and he did for sure. But I was like, do I need 3 of these episodes to be that? And then finally they're like, oh yeah, there was a pedophile here. And
Hotshot producer is a jerk.
it's like, yeah, dude, for
all of them
sure.
are.
I
All
got.
of them.
I would not expect anything less.
It's a jerk.
Yeah.
I get it. On to the pedophiles. And then they finally bring out,
Somebody show me a
dude,
pedophile.
that's what I'm here for. That's what we're all here for, dude.
I'm just thinking if there's people just listening outside, what in the world are they talking
And then
about?
finally they're like, here's a pedophile, and it was this guy. Then Drake Bell stops out, and they're like, next episode we'll talk about it. I'm like, would you just... I was very frustrated.
Yep.
The whole thing.
Same.
But
Okay, so I'll start on episode 4.
start on episode 4
So
or
that-
whatever. It's
that
4 or
one's
5
out.
episodes.
That
the
one's
first
out.
is 2 or
And,
3.
yeah, and then we're watching one right now. My wife and I on what is it? The space shuttle Columbia. CNN did one, and it's not political, so don't worry, it's not misinformation. But they're just retracing the steps and stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
That's the one that blew up, right? No?
yeah, on a re-entry.
Yeah.
The other thing about the Nickelodeon one is every time not every time, but a lot of times they'd bring up an old sketch. They'd be like, here's an old sketch they used to play. Isn't it kind of a little inappropriate?
Yeah, all of them were.
I would find myself laughing at them. And I was like, oh, that's
Hilarious.
Yeah, like they did this one. It was like these kids. They're like, yeah, we had a sketch called "Sugar and Coffee," and they're complaining because the whole sketch was like, I don't know what the plot was, but it's these 2 kids, and they're like scientists or something. I don't know, but there's a big machine on each side of the stage, and one's a coffee thing, and they go stand there and it just shoots coffee on them, and then the other one's sugar, and they go over there and they shoot sugar, and the whole thing is they're just like super jittery, being jittery and weird the whole time, and they'd be like, we need more sugar, and they'd go into the thing and it would shoot all this sugar on them and stuff. It was like stupid, but I was like kind of giggling at it. And the kids are like, yeah, the sugar made it was actual coffee, so we smelled like coffee, and then the sugar kind of made it like a thick thing, and it was so it was really uncomfortable, and we were drinking, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Get to the pedophiles already. It was kind of funny. Anyway, that was how I felt about like 80% of the thing.
It was he was one of the black guys on there that they made him into like a nose-man character
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever. And then he's like, and then they put some sad music on, and,
Yeah,
and
dude.
it was like racism or
Dude,
something
and
they were
there-
trying to paint or something like.
There
like,
was one-
black people have big noses. It's like everybody's got big noses.
Yeah, dude, there
But
was one they
anyway,
made.
just dumb.
I think it was a black kid again on there. The joke of the skit was he was a rapper, but he was a fetus, and his name was Lil Fetus, and he was. This is what I'm saying. Like you're giggling. It's so stupid. So it's like him dressed as like a fetus, and he's just rapping. It was so dumb, but I'm like giggling the whole time. They're like, yeah, I was really uncomfortable. I was in like this skin tight suit because I was supposed to be a fetus, and I was just like, okay, man, but
I'm so glad that comedy's coming back around. Like
it's trying.
because comedy before through the cancel culture and all the things got so gross. Because everybody was trying to follow rules. And that's the thing about comedy is there's no rules.
Yeah, well, there's not supposed to be.
And it's starting to come back. It's starting to come.
definitely
I don't want to like mention any names, but there was this comic, and Tucker Carlson was on the panel, right? And this black
know what you're talking
black comic came out, and he did his little thing or whatever, and he got so excited he was just like, it's just kind of black hood comic, and he told Tucker Carlson, he goes, "My grandma hates you."
And it was great. And
It was great. And then Tucker says, "She don't really mean that." He goes, "Oh yes, she does."
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's funny. It's good stuff.
Oh, that was so funny.
It was good stuff.
Tucker is not such a, I don't know, stuck up type person that you see on.
He can laugh. He'll laugh at a joke.
And
you
his
can make
laugh
fun of
is
him.
weird,
oh,
too.
it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild, bro. And that's just how he laughs all the time.
Hey, the other comic on the panel goes, "Oh, that's a real laugh."
Yeah, that's
That's a real laugh.
But I don't trust a person if they don't laugh at anything ever, and you can't make fun of them. It doesn't work. So if you've got some crazy opinions, but like you can make fun of yourself and I can laugh,
I love people that can
then
make
it's
fun of
okay.
themselves.
It doesn't even have to be necessarily about you, but if I can make a joke and we can laugh about
Yeah.
stuff, then I go, okay, you're a real person and you're not.
Yeah, we have some of those
Totally
people in
mental.
church that are, they're not that saved at home. You know what I mean? Like they're over saved at church. They don't live their life that way.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
Oh yeah.
where are you going?
I can play a song. Can I play a song?
Sure. Do we get in the culture corner first? Do anybody have a culture corner?
I think we were in a culture corner.
Yeah,
That was culture corner.
we're in a culture corner.
All right.
Here, so me and Ben got a new single coming out Saturday, so I'm gonna play it for
Let's
you
drop
guys.
it right here.
Because it's
First time ever heard in
That's
the
right.
world.
Oh, ayo. All right, here we go. It's called "Feel Okay" by Eucalyptian.
Philo.
Well, I'm so sick of wasting time. So much time, I'm about to lose my mind. Well, I'm a crab in a bucket, but you can't hold me down. I got some stuff to say if I could get it out. And the more my mouth is shut, the more I wanna shout. Sometimes you gotta get locked up before you can break out. I just wanna feel okay. More than just today, and I wanna be with you. I've been trying for so long, working on our songs. I wanna work it out with you.
I'm so sick of wasting time. In my mind, I think I'm fine until I can't press rewind. But I'm a man on a mission, and you can't hold me down. Flies by so quick, don't get left behind. Seems like everywhere we look, there's not enough time to find. I'm gonna grind till the finish, and you can't hold me down.
I just wanna feel okay, more than just today, and I wanna be with you. I've been trying for so long, working on our songs. I wanna work it out with you. Well, things change, but nothing is new. I've seen it all before. I don't know what to do. Been feeling friendly with my guilt, and it don't feel good. I feel so much rage, and I rage all day as I look for the words to say. I don't even know how I feel, and it don't feel good. I've been starting all my thoughts with I, and maybe that's the source of my demise. I just wanna move on through this already. Come on. Everything has a price to be paid, and what's it really worth to feel okay? Or wouldn't it be better if I just did it anyway? I just wanna feel okay, more than just today, and I wanna be with you. I've been trying for so long, working on our songs. I wanna work it out with you. I just wanna feel okay, more than just today.
Yeah.
Two
Saturday.
things, two things that stuck out on this for me was the guitar. I love the way y'all do the electric guitar with minimal effects. Yeah,
It's real big about like get a sound and you're done.
Yeah,
And then like maybe he throws on an overdrive at some point or something.
Because most people, if they're going to, well, I would say most people, a lot of people, if they're going to go that sound, they go acoustic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just coming straight out of an electric guitar, you don't hardly hear people playing that anymore.
Yeah, man.
So that's cool.
Ben's got a good tone on his.
Oh yeah, no, it's.
I don't want to give Ben the bigger head, but the dude's so talented.
Oh, he
man.
knows.
Godly, shoot.
he knows that, but it's just
Not saying that you're not.
Keep
but
his head small, man. No, he needs a bigger head.
that
Pump it up.
pump it up.
that sound is so Vox AC30.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know, Telly. I mean, you can hear that tone, and it's classic.
And that's like his sound.
That's his
that
thing.
he's
Yeah.
kind of stuck with.
Yeah.
So I think I mentioned this last week that I was watching this interview with that guy Rick Beato. He was talking to a couple guys from the Police, and anyway, they were talking about how they mix and how they produce and how they go into the studio, and they talk about their their whole process, and it's really good. But one thing that I think the guitarist was talking about is that he hated to be pigeonholed to. People, whenever they came out, they were like, they didn't know how to describe that sound. The Police, they stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
They still, to this day, they do, in a good
There ain't
kind
very
of
many
way.
bands that are like, man, I want to sound like the Police.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They got their sound. You know?
So, but one thing that bothered him, he said, is that they got labeled when they came out as a reggae type, thing. Would you be bothered if somebody would classify your music as a reggae type?
I'm not really bothered by anything. But we do like that's not a reggae song, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we
but
do
it's
so
gotta-
much
It's
stuff.
got to feel like
Yeah.
all of y'all songs. Well, not all of y'all. A lot of y'all songs, you can point back to like a reggae influence.
It's the it's the upbeat on the guitar that
yeah.
that
Yeah.
thing.
But like even that one doesn't have that much of that at all. In fact, even the parts of the song that are closest to that are like the verses where the drum beat's not. It's like a regular kind of rock beat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't call it reggae. But if somebody said that, I would, cool, whatever. I like a lot of reggae music. That's why we have those influences.
And then your drum patterns and stuff, you do that whole bossa nova type, the samba
yeah, baby.
2/3 thing,
I
and which I'm all for it. I love it.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it's all right. You actually should because you love Latina women,
Yeah.
so you actually should know about the sambas and stuff.
I think the correct statement was Latino women.
Yeah.
That's what he said that one time.
Oh.
I was like, oh man, that has a
Latino. Shout out to Latinos out there.
Latinos
All
and
of-
Latinas.
All the O's and E's and
All of
nuz.
them, dude.
All the nuz.
But yeah, Saturday. I'm pretty pumped about it. Caesar took the album art photo for it. Did I tell you which one we picked?
no. Which one did you
We
pick?
picked the
Was it the fuzzy face one?
Yeah, we picked the
Okay.
fuzzy face one.
Perfect for a single.
Yeah. So hopefully it comes out good. I'm excited about it.
I used to like back in the day when you used to go buy a cassette tape,
Yeah.
right? And then you get all the album art, and then it folds out like a little book, and then
yeah,
you're able
yeah.
to see the lyrics and
Yeah.
some of the
I had
pictures.
those on CDs, not cassettes for me, but yeah.
I was at the tail end of cassettes,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, my upbringing was all CDs.
So before we move on, let them know where they can find your music and all your stuff.
Anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever. Yeah, Eucalyption. You'll find it there. EUCALYPTION.
There you go. I was in a I was there, the conversion between tape and CD, even to the point where like CD players in cars were very, very expensive. So we had the CD equivalent to a Walkman, like the portable CD player.
Oh, yeah. I had those.
That's like way out of date. They didn't last long. And then you would buy a shock mount for the car, and you would screw it into the car because it would skip. So you had to have the shock mount.
Yeah.
And then the output would be a tape player with the wire on it that you shoved it into the tape, which didn't make any sense at all because now you're just listening to a tape. You know what I mean? The quality is gone. But
We
yeah,
still keep one of those in my dad's old truck because I bought one at some point. That little cassette auxiliary thing.
Oh yeah, you gotta have it.
Because if you were driving in there, if you were borrowing the truck, because this was the problem, dude. So cars at some point it was like all cassette players, right? So it was radio and cassette, and then when CDs started being a thing, you started having cars move to no cassette, but they just had a CD player and radio. But like MP3 players were still not enough of a thing to where they didn't have auxiliary cables.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cars that are in that zone where it just had it just had a CD player. So you could either play CDs or listen to the radio, but that was it. There was no place to plug in an auxiliary. But if you had an old enough car that had cassette player, you could do the cassette thing where you could buy one of those adapters where it was a cassette and an auxiliary. So you could still listen to your iPod or whatever. But so yeah, the phase where it was CDs are the future, that phase,
James,
that was the worst.
do you
Because then once they got newer, then they had it CDs plus an auxiliary.
Yeah,
Then you could do whatever.
Do you remember when Walmart sold the clean versions of songs? I know you do.
Oh yeah, I really-
I mean, I remember buying CDs from Walmart, but I don't specifically remember the clean version.
I remember when like
Mine was Best Buy. Best Buy had a better selection.
music stores were still a thing. Like
Sound waves.
Yeah, you would go in and you would like flip through albums and CD. I mean, and tapes and different things like that.
I did that with CDs, not with records, but I did it with CDs. Because back then iTunes was a thing. When I was in, like, first getting into high school was when iTunes was kind of like getting big. So you could get whatever you wanted on iTunes, but you still had to buy it. You know, you had to spend $10 on the CD or the album or whatever. But if you went, you could find like physical copies of things, and I liked having the physical copies for some reason. But you could buy the CD at Walmart or Best Buy or wherever, and then you could just burn it onto your computer, and then you could, and then you could still put it on your iPod or whatever.
Napster music.
So I did a lot of that because if you had, I would get. Sometimes you could find the CD for a few bucks cheaper if you went to Best Buy or something. Like they'd have a sale or something. So I would do that kind of stuff a lot. Walmart had cheaper ones, but they had less of a selection. Best Buy had more cool music, but it was probably a couple bucks more. And then, of course, you could find anything on iTunes, but then you had to have a card. And when I was 15, I didn't have a card. I had to buy it, you know what I mean?
I remember those days
I
whenever
do,
you would spend all night trying to download 2 or 3 songs so you can burn it.
Well, what we used to do back when the original mixtape, right, where the mixtape come from, you would call into the radio station and request the song.
Yeah.
And then you would wait by your radio with the record button.
Yeah, and then
and
record
you
it for
would
the
record
radio.
your song, and then you have enough of those, and you would have a tape of all of your favorite songs, and that was the original mixtape. Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow.
Good times.
And then that was terrible because if you started too early, then you got them talking. If you started too late, then you missed part of the song. That was wild.
And it was always like horrible radio quality.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was better than you could get. So, but yeah, that was interesting.
Anyway, that was my section there that I had. That was it. That was the song.
Very good, very good. So I got something I want to talk about today.
Tell me about it.
We see from mega churches to smaller churches, young pastors to even some older pastors, you know, and I'm not saying this is bad because I am that guy that uses props to preach. But my question is, what's too much, right? What is too much? Because, I mean, we've seen some of these churches that have, you know, all the money in the world that they bring trampolines in the middle of the sanctuary, and they're jumping and preaching and
Jumping for Jesus?
whatever it is, or flooding the stage with water, and it looks like you're walking on water. Some really cool things, right? And then it gets wild when, you know, starting to bring monster trucks into the sanctuary. Like, how big is your sanctuary where you can bring a monster truck?
Are they
in,
doing
right?
that? They're bringing monster trucks?
I don't know if this was at the church itself, but they bought and rented an
What's
arena.
the angle on that?
The arena. It was, you know, it's just just trying to
Monster
go
Jam for
bigger.
Jesus?
It's kind of like that movie that we watched. It was just like, what do we do this year for Easter? You know, and like we've done all of the things, the spectacular things. Well, this year we're gonna do like a real live crucifixion.
Whoa.
You know, and then so did y'all see that movie?
I saw
Yeah,
the
I saw it.
trailers.
And
from it, but
so
I
the
never
guy
saw it.
was going around to different pastors, like, "Hey, man, I really need you to volunteer for this," you know. And then so he could convince the youth pastor like this was the thing, you know. And the poor youth pastor, this is his mentor and this is his thing, and he was like, "Okay, you know, God called me to do this because my mentor said it," you know. And the guy was about to give his life, up for some crazy dude, but like. How big can it get? You know, we've seen this maybe a year ago. We talked about "Show Me the Toes," right? It was an episode that we had, and it was "Show Me the Toes," where these 3 toes grew back, and within 48 hours, this church.
3? I thought it was just the big toe. Or
No, it was actually 3 toes, and they said they seen the bones grow out, the flesh cover them, and the next day the toenails were there. And then this website was created called "Show Me the Toes."
This is what it was. This lady didn't have the toes. She goes up, gets prayed for. Supposedly, they pray for her. The toes grow back. But then they won't show anybody the toes. Everybody says, "Let's see."
Because
the
the pastor was like, "I'm more, interested of, I'm less interested in showing the toes and then, protecting my,
somewhere.
my shit, my
that
sheep."
was the gist of the story.
So, so this is this
Which,
church.
by the way, they never showed the toes, huh?
they never show the toes.
Because I never followed up.
Even to this point, I don't think they've ever
That's
shown
cap.
That's cap, bro.
All right, so fast
Real
forward,
talk.
these guys had a men's, same church. These guys had this men's,
Show Me the Toes Church.
yeah, Show Me the Toes church.
Okay.
They had this big men's deal, right? And it looks like they rented an arena or something, big mega church. They had monster trucks jumping. And then on the stage, how they started the whole men's thing, they had this gentleman. He come out in like this leather suit or whatever, and he's on this stage, and there's like a stripper pole, right, on the stage,
Right.
and he takes his shirt off, and he's all ripped up.
Yeah.
Come to find out, he is a ex male dancer.
Beautiful.
Lord saved his life.
X.
Okay, but Lord saved his life, and so he starts his pole routine. Does a couple little pole things.
There's a guy dancing at the men's thing.
Exactly. Right. That
I get it.
don't get it.
Well, you don't get it.
I don't get it.
That's why they think it's okay.
Why would a bunch of men want to see another dude on a pole?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see you on a pole. Actually,
Even if
Scratch that.
even if I look like you.
I want to see you on a pole.
Anyways, keep it moving. He does a couple of these little pole things, and then he climbs up the pole after he swallows a sword. That happens. Monster trucks go off. Where our old buddy Mark Driscoll is preaching the very next day.
Oh.
And if y'all don't remember Mark Driscoll, he just had a documentary come out a couple years ago called the something of Mars Hill, the destruction of Mars Hill, or something like that. It sounds like now, for the things that I've been seeing over the last year or so, that he's coming back a whole lot healthier. Okay, he's got some people in his life that's holding him accountable, but still very man-driven, matter of fact, dogmatic type guy. Anyways, that's just by nature who he is. But to all, from the outside looking in, he's coming back very healthy. He gets up there and he tells this church that there is a oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget. There's a Jezebel spirit.
Jezebel spirit.
A Jezebel spirit that started this conference, and he was talking about this guy taking his clothes off and doing this routine on the pole. And
What was the point of that? Like, how were they? Did they say what was?
They were doing,
was the take?
Doing man things.
That okay? Well,
Okay,
go ahead.
Nobody knows.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Monster trucks. I mean, it's cool.
It's a men's
conference. Monster trucks. Whatever. I think you probably can spend your money a little bit better places than having the gravedigger come do your. Your whatever. I don't know if it's a gravedigger or not, but whatever.
So the conference was called the Stronger Men's Conference in Springfield, Missouri.
What's the name of the church? You got the name of the church there?
The conference and annual event hosted by the James River Church.
James River.
Exists to inspire and equip men to live out God's vision for manhood, to be the husbands, fathers, and leaders God has called them to be. So
that sounds good.
I don't know how a sword swallower falls into
a sword swallower.
That's what he was.
Male stripper.
It's sword swallower. Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing against the dude, because the Lord saved his life. He's not in that world anymore, and he's a sword swallower. Mm-hmm. They hired him. He came and did his thing. So I'm not even like putting it on him.
Yeah.
He just should never been hired, right? Anyways, Mark Driscoll comes out, Jezebel's spirit. Well, the pastor didn't like that. That's enough, Mark. Off stage. That's enough, Mark.
Oh, that's nice.
And so Mark Driscoll shuts his Bible. He says, I receive that. Turns around, walks off the stage. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's probably 20,000 people there.
Yeah.
It did come back where Mark Driscoll comes back on the stage of the pastor. The pastor and him go off stage. It sounds like they've been long friends for a long time. They work some things out, and they come back on the stage and they talk about what went down. Mark Driscoll apologizes for what he did. Now, before we get into like what's too far, should he have apologized for calling out?
Well, it's tough to say since I didn't see any of the stuff we're talking about.
My thing is, I think I probably would have expected an apology, because you should have probably went to the pastor before you got on the pastor stage and
Maybe,
called it
but
out.
I mean, there's got to be a line there. If you took it to the extreme, there's got to be a scenario where if the church did X and then you got to go preach afterwards, you got to say something about it.
But the pastor did say, "Hey, listen, me and Mark hung out earlier in the day." He didn't say nothing about it.
Yeah.
But Mark
Oh,
said,
so this didn't happen like at the beginning of the service. This was something
this was
that
the
happened.
next day.
So that's a little.
when Mark got up there and talked
That's a little
about it.
different then. But
So I mean, I feel like that he should have apologized, not for the word from the Lord, but maybe for the way that he handled it.
So I saw the clip and I heard the boos, but I also heard the
Oh,
chants.
matter of fact, when Mark left, the pastor got back on the stage, and his people booed him, and chanting, "Get off the stage."
aha. Okay.
And there was others saying, "Get him back, bring him back, bring
Yeah.
him back, bring Mark back." Where I think Mark Driscoll was coming from when I saw it, it was 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 20, Paul's instructions to a young pastor. But he says this. He says, "As for those who persist in sin, rebuke them in the presence of all, so that the rest may stand in fear." So those that sin openly are to be rebuked openly. What the pastor of that conference, what he was bringing up was, whenever you sin against somebody in a private matter, then you take care of it in a private manner.
Yeah, because the pastor came up, and I think he quoted Matthew 13. That
18,
says,
18.
If you have a issue with your brother, you go privately to your brother.
Yeah.
Right? So they were having this conflict on scriptures publicly anyways.
Yeah, but this is like whenever you do something so openly, and for me, I get that. I get where Mark Driscoll was coming from. He is a hard-noser, hardliner when it comes to the gospel. He kind of always has been. But it's kind of like the same comment that I made whenever we were doing that Mars Hill docuseries, right? That he's saying a lot of stuff that you actually do agree with. You just don't like maybe sometimes the method in how he says it, or how hard he says it, or in the context that he says it.
Right.
But it's hard to dispute that. It's like, why'd you hire an ex-stripper, male sword
dance?
swallower at a conference where you're teaching men how to be men?
Yeah.
you know, I don't want
Well,
to.
first of all, just as a male female, okay, there's so much issue with homosexuality in culture, period. So now you get a good looking ripped dude to take his clothes off in front of a bunch of men. Shirt, I should say shirt, but that's not promoting manhood.
Yeah.
You know, if you just look at it as culture, the better fit would have been a woman, right? I mean, I know you can't do that in church, but you don't bring men in for men.
I'm just like, where are you going with this?
David's issue was that it was a male stripper, not
Yes,
a female
that is my issue because men don't want to see that unless you're promoting homosexual.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, you don't need a stripper at all. It doesn't really matter so much.
But I'm just talking about in the way culture, what we see people. Like,
Yeah.
we're attracted to the opposite sex, not the same sex,
I
unless
think
you're
they
promoting
probably
homosexual.
thought it was okay because clearly they're not homosexual there. So if it's a dude in front of dudes, it's just fun. That would be my.
I just want to know
guess that they're
what it
thinking
was
that.
like in those, you know, in those planning meetings, and somebody said, you know what, I think will be a good idea if we invite, you know, this ex stripper sword swallower to our conference to open it up. I
But
mean,
I'm still confused. He just did a routine, and they were like, "All right, let's hear it for him," and now on with the service.
So,
Or was it?
you've seen sword swallowers
Yeah,
before?
you know.
If they brought a sword swallower in there, that would have been one thing.
But I still don't understand. Like, was it just like, "Hey, here's something fun for us to watch, enjoy,"
I
or
think
was
that's
it like
what it
a
was supposed to
tied-in
be.
with
I
a?
think that no,
it looked like a Cirque du Soleil kind of, you know, performance.
yeah. If they would have been a carny in there, you know what I mean?
But it wasn't like a prop as part of a message. He wasn't
No,
like.
this was just the opening act of this entire
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't
weekend
make any
of
sense.
men's thing. And then they put the stripper pole there.
Yeah, it
like,
doesn't
come on, you're representing something just by having the pole there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the kind of problem. If you would have just brought some weirdo carny that, you know, that ate fire and swallowed
It's
swords,
fun. I'd watch it.
that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the bringing in a stripper pole and then have him take part of his clothes off was really maybe Mark might be right because, like you said, everything that you say was bad about Mark was never his teaching. His teaching and most of that was always sound. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He was a little bit aggressive, and he might have stepped out of some other areas of his life.
His personal opinions and maybe the quality of leadership.
Yeah.
Was questionable. Yeah, sure, but yeah, never. It was never a question of that's not what the Bible says.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing was, if he was this guy's overseer, I think maybe coming to that church's platform and saying that out loud would maybe be one thing. But as a guest coming into somebody's church, don't go on stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You'd have to just
say, you know,
because
I'm-
if you still
so-
go on and preach and everything, you don't say nothing, and you think that was clearly wrong. You're basically like endorsing
Yeah.
and being part of it.
Right.
You know?
You're signing off on it. But for him to go out there and say that, now it was kind of cool to see them reconcile and come up back on stage and talk about it together openly in front of everybody. That was kind of that there was more of a teaching than
How to be a man.
how to be a man and figure things out within brothers. You know,
Maybe they planned the whole thing, and that was really the teaching of the weekend.
Maybe.
maybe.
Whoa.
But that was
Probably
a whole
not.
lot of
Probably not.
whole lot of other stuff to have to get there.
Yeah.
So back to my original question, and I know that kind of took us somewhere, but back to my original question: how far is too far? You know, because I always point back to Jesus. Well, Jesus always used what was around him to make his point for people to remember, and if it was the birds or the land or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But what's too far?
Well,
I've used Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
Is that too far?
some would say yes, but you used a clip of a instrumental and maybe even some words when it was Mother's Day or something like
Mother's
that.
Day, I just used the instrumental.
Yeah.
Another message when I was talking about always referring back, how music can take you back,
Yeah.
and how the New Testament takes you back to the Old Testament.
Yeah, no, see, and that's fine, right? But if you were to have a Tupac performance up there with unredacted, with full explicit lyrics,
Tupac's hologram.
and background dancers with half naked, then yeah, that's too much.
So what about? Because I had this thought, renting Oompa Loompas.
I remember that.
You got to do it one of these days.
Is that too far?
I can't, remind me of the context. Why were you getting the Oompa Loompas?
Because the title of the message was the Willy Wonka. You know,
What's the general overview?
I haven't figured that part out.
You
but
don't know yet. You just know.
Sometimes you just start with the Oompa Loompas and you work
don't
your way
have a
backwards.
message. You just said, "I want Oompa Loompas on the stage for sure."
Some people would say that was more sacrilegious than anything. Would start with the Oompa Loompa and then work your message into it.
Yeah, and
You don't have a message?
No, not yet.
I thought you had a message.
No,
Though.
I heard another message, but I thought he missed it because he didn't have the Oompa Loompas.
Oh, that's right. What was the message though? There was a message somewhere. You weren't just sitting around going,
No.
Oompa
I just thought I could do it better with Oompa Loompas.
I mean,
and didn't you do a search for people that are for?
Oh
people
yeah,
that-
they're actually out there. Oompa Loompas you can rent by the gaggle.
oh yeah, by the gaggle. What's a gaggle?
Is that a group of Oompa Loompas?
A gaggle of loompas? That's wild. I like that. Yeah, I mean they have like midget wrestling. That's a thing. You can go buy a ticket.
And people would say you're exploiting them. No, they're the wrestlers.
They got paid. They wanted it.
They're the one for hire.
Oh,
Yeah. It's and as as ministers of the gospel, we have a responsibility to approach it with reverence, respect, and
I agree.
power, authority. All that stuff. And then, but I also see the I would see the criticism, and people saying, "Well, that is entertainment.
Yeah.
You're going after entertainment versus just the simplicity of the word, and let the word of God speak." Now, and I am more on that side than on the prop side, though I have been known to use a prop or two, right? But how far is too far in Big C Church? Yeah, I think you need to everybody needs to analyze whether or not there's are we even looking for entertainment value in it? And if a yes comes back to any of those questions that we ask, I think we need to go back to the drawing board and say, could people see, entertainment value in it? Now, again, I'm all for good production. We need production in the church, right? Good production. We need solid lights and sound, audio, video. You need a good worship band up there, because the opposite of that is also very true, that nobody wants to go and get their eardrums get blown out, or it sounds like screeching nails on chalkboard. You need to get people up there that can actually do what is required.
So you're saying no entertainment at all?
I'm saying if entertainment
So if you built in entertainment to your message, that's where you draw the line.
If entertainment is the purpose, is the number one thing that I am after, then it is a no.
Because I tell you how I do it. So I have a baseline of this is what I want to say, right? And then, so everything that I start with is biblically sound to what I think, or to how I perceive it, how I interpret the what I'm reading from the Bible, and then I go back and then I add some. I don't want to call it entertainment. Then I add a little bit of at this point I can see where the people are going. A low point, or add something here, or add, and then I say, okay, well, this will be a good prop. I can put it here and really like boost the thought and the point here, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's always based on scripture first, and then I add into what it is. So I don't know if this is how other people do it. And I think if you do it that way, then your heart's in the right spots, right? But I think if you do start with the Oompa Loompa, and then you try to make that
How can
biblical,
I make a message out of this? Because
I think that's where you go wrong.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
might be.
yeah. If you're seeking a shock factor that is not the Word of God already,
Yeah.
like if it does not start with the Word of God, you're already in some trouble.
Yeah.
Right. Because
And I'm not saying I'm doing it right. I might be wrong. And if that's the case, somebody tell me. But
I think the context of the service makes a difference too. If you're just preaching like a regular Sunday service to 95% home folks, you shouldn't need some kind of big entertainment quote thing, because people, they know Jesus already. They're here to, they're just here to hear the word of God and all that stuff. Like you don't need. But if maybe it's more of an outreach thing, and most of the people that are going to be there are going to be unsaved people that you're targeting. Maybe the percentage of quote entertainment things kind of shifts a little bit. So I think the context of that matters. But
yeah, but even as Christian, how many times have you left church and Tuesday somebody asks you, "Hey, what did your pastor preach about?"
yeah, you don't want that.
And you're
yeah,
like,
but see that's
what was that?
remember,
But
yeah.
you could say, "Oh yeah, I remember he had this ladder and he was making this point about
Yeah.
climbing the ladder."
Yeah.
That falls more on the responsibility of the people that come to church versus the pastor or the church always having something that is a hook to them, right? I in my experience, and even like I'll just refer back to college. You've got to sit there for a 3-hour lecture course, and you better absorb it because it's good for your future, right? It's good for what you want to go into and give your life to. You come to a church, and the church world has pandered to people for so long, in that we have to have a small group for everybody, for every kind of different characteristic or attribute that people have. And if your church is big enough, hey, that's cool that people can have that. But there is a line that needs to be drawn to whenever a church they take the position of, we are not going to pander to people, but also it is in that church's I think it's in that church's responsibility as fishers of men to understand what bait is. Right, you've got to be able to bait the hook and pull them in, and if your church doesn't have some of these programs, you're not going to get people in.
Right.
And just maybe in a very high level, right? If your church doesn't have a children's program, you're not going to be seeing a lot of families.
Yeah.
And that just kind of stripping away all the glitz and glamour of what we're talking about, right? If your church doesn't have a children's program, you're not going to get a lot of families. If it doesn't have a young adults program, you're probably not going to have a lot of young adults. If your church doesn't have a lot of things catered to the older generation, you're not going to exist for long because you're not going to have no money to operate.
Yeah, and that's what's really important about some of these like Life Church in Baytown and in Vaughn's Church. They have that support group that really shows them like you have that model where they start big, or you have the model where you start in your house. And the house churches are tough, man, because you don't have the resources. What are you going to do with a 10, 11, and 12-year-old, and I'm going to come to your house church? And we're sitting in your living room, and the pastor is just talking to you for an hour. These 10, 11, 12-year-olds, they're going to be bugging you. You're not going to get anything out of it, right? So that's tough. But most churches back in the day, they started that way.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was in church, I was told to sit down, shut up, and don't move.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. But I think that when we move to a generation that we're in now, where there's so much stuff tickling all of our senses, the church has to adjust a little bit.
Yeah, we can't, and I agree with that. We can't hold ourselves to what they did in our grandparents' generation, because it's not the same kind of people. The culture has completely shifted. What vies for people's attention is completely different.
Yeah.
Back then, and even go as far back as 20 years ago, kids could sit still. They didn't have social media. Kids were required to sit still because they didn't have anything else. They played with, the crayons or
we
whatnot.
were, if we was hyper, we were made to go outside and run it off. Mm-hmm. Now we're just told to go sit in front of the TV and be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the iPad.
Yeah. So, and the other thing that I think that we're seeing the church do a little better, but not always, and it's kind of off subject a little bit. We'll just talk about it since we're talking about this, is building the church for the children. As a body, as a church, we've done a terrible job at that in the past, and you're starting to see it now in this generation because there's so many options. Like I have more options staying home and watching church than I do to go find a local church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And then especially if I go to my local church and there's 40 people over 40. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or whatever it may be. Because the church is not, if I'm not building a church for between a 16 and a 22-year-old, I'm doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that. And I told Pastor Mark this morning, the number one thing that he's done since he's been pastor is doing what he did with you. Investing in you as you invested in all these younger groups, right? Because if we don't do that, we're going to, as big and beautiful as the church that we have and all the years that we have in it, we were just a few generations of closing the doors, mm-hmm. right? Because our church looked like the first service. Mm-hmm. And now that you have some just tremendous people that you've really just invested in, and we had some people move here from other churches because they seen that growth.
And using that as a backdrop there, I'm very aware of my preaching style and who I am. I don't look like the youth pastor. Yeah. And that's just not my mode. It's never been.
I still look like the youth pastor and I'm 80.
But I mean, like another guy.
I'm that guy.
Another guy that was in the headlines recently, either last week or the week before, was Stephen Furtick again, in the church headlines anyway. Not for anything bad necessarily, but he was wearing this, $2,000 Neiman Marcus pink disaster on stage.
That rug?
Yeah, that rug that he wore. And
that was on Easter Sunday too.
Yeah, so Easter Sunday and up there, his whole fit was probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 with a watch or something. And it's like, is this what is required of pastors nowadays?
Yeah.
Is this what's required to bring in this generation that is always seeking an entertainment factor?
So let me ask this question, because the more successful that I get financially,
Mm-hmm.
I want to just make that very clear, because I don't think financial success means that you're successful. But the more nicer things that I buy,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's been very successful in selling books, making money outside of the church.
Sure.
And a lot of people will say, well, if it wasn't for the church, he wouldn't be selling those books, but whatever. So he's worth millions of dollars for his, what they call it, his intellectual property, right? So he's selling all these books. So is it not okay for him? Because that fit feels like the same way if I go buy, $300 worth of clothes. Mm-hmm. It's the same percentage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this might be a little out of context, but whenever the Bible tells us that we need to,
I'm not defending him for wearing that. I just wanted to,
right.
Yeah.
It tells us to avoid the very appearance of evil.
Yeah.
Right. And that does put the burden of responsibility on the person that is aware of that. Now, whenever we do things to entice other people, to make other people envious of what we have, people are going to talk about you, especially that church. That church is very, very aware of their presence in the market. and how much of the market share they have with their music, with their products, with what. So there's a lot of stuff that is made for clicks, and he knows that he's getting these clicks equate to money.
Yeah.
They equate to reach. So, you know, yes, there is a certain business strategy that absolutely can be commended in what they have done. But to me, he has more of a responsibility to try to be, to show humility. Because you say, well, you know, what would Jesus do? Jesus said, I don't even have a pillow. And he came from glory. And he himself, he had to humble himself. So I think a hallmark of a man of God, in whatever status they find themselves, let the characteristic always be humility. And no matter how many zeros the bank account has, right? People should be able to see, oh yeah, you're rich, but you're humble.
Yeah. But what if they opened up, and I don't know this, I'm just asking the question. What if they open up their books personally and the church, and we find out they're giving $30 million away
No, well, regardless that
a year as to their community and to programs and different things like that.
No, those great things. I know that charge always comes to like Lakewood too, you know, because they say they don't have sound biblical preaching on Sunday, and I would agree. There's a lot of motivational stuff going out there, but that's not to say that there isn't a lot of sound biblical teaching coming out of the leadership of Lakewood that is not Joel Osteen, right?
I think Joel Osteen's just a wide net. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just, bring him in here. I'm going to set up programs for other people to take care of you, but I'm casting a wide net on Sunday.
Yeah,
I can see
yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. I used to have a lot of heavy criticism toward that at first, but just like you said, they do so much that is gospel out of that church. But if you just base it off what you see on a Sunday morning, that's not enough. And that's not fair even for our church. You know, we were just, I won't mention what we did, but we were in the social media sphere for a little bit for some antics that came out of our announcements that one day, and it's not a fair estimation of our church just because of some, a flub.
Yeah. And I think that that kind of goes back to your point. Like, a lot of people thought we were trying to be entertaining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of just being an accident. Well, this is what happens when you turn your Sunday morning into SNL, and that's not the heart of what it was. That was a guy getting up there trying to make it funny, during the announcements, and it happened.
Yeah, and back to what we're talking about, like some of these churches, they have a lot of this on repeat. They're always showing up in the headlines for some of these things that are coming out of their pulpits, and then that's when you have to stop and ask the question, wait a minute, are they doing this on purpose now, or are they just not approaching things with the proper reverence? Because they seem this is a habitual thing now. There's a pattern that's emerging, and who are the decision makers, if any, on whether or not this is the way that we want to portray the gospel to this world.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I get it. People mess up. Maybe the sword swallower was a bad idea, but if next year they have 3 sword swallowers, and you see what I mean?
Right. I think that a lot of these bigger churches, they have like creative teams, and y'all know. I mean, both of y'all are very creative people. Like you're always trying to. The next thing needs to be better than the last, right? The next song needs to be better. You should be seeing growth there, or whatever. The next message that you preach needs to be better than the last one, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of pressure on those creative teams because, first of all, most churches don't have creative teams. They have a youth pastor and then a small groups pastor that are trying to be the creative person in the church, So you have these creative teams, and they're always pushing the limits to try to do the next thing. And I can see that if it's not well mentored, it could get out of control like that.
And then church, especially now, right? More mega churches than have ever existed. they also serve as institutions now where people come, they go and they get degrees. They're hiring people with degrees in some of these very specific things to come and do that. And, the requirement isn't necessarily, are you a follower of Jesus Christ and when were you baptized?
Yeah.
Can you do this job? This is a job for you to come and run this. I'm pretty sure that the sound system in Lakewood is the equivalent to what Beyonce is using. I mean,
Right,
it
for
was,
sure.
you need people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always equate to, but are they a Christian first?
Well, we just had a story some months ago about tithe being taken out of somebody's check. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? Because this church was just like, look, you're working for us, you will be paying tithe. And this lady was like living on the other side of the country, and she was just like doing their social media or their artwork or something like that. Not really going to, she didn't even go to the church, but they were taking her tithe from her check, So you have a lot of that. You have somebody that's not even in your home office at your church that's providing
Some video editing.
whatever
Yeah.
back to the church, doesn't know the heart of the church, maybe he's not saved, and then
Or maybe they go to a different church.
and then you just at some point trust and run,
Yeah.
right, and you run it without even
Yeah. No, that ain't right.
Yeah.
And my first pastor, it was real easy the way he explained it. He said, whenever you go to McDonald's, you don't go and pay Burger King, and vice versa, right? And what he was saying is, you pay where you eat.
yeah.
So if you're eating, then you're paying. And plus, the tithe still, it's the tithe. Yes, it's a requirement. It's sacrificial giving. But again, it's on the responsibility of the person to do it, not the church to do it for you.
Yeah.
To take it out of your, well, I'm covered now. No, then it's not. That's not the point. See, a lot of people think the tithe is meant to grow the church, and that's not the purpose of the tithe. The purpose of the tithe is to grow the Christian.
It's the obedience.
It's the obedience. It's to grow the person, not the
Yeah.
church.
Yeah. Well, it turned out to be illegal. You can't do that.
Well, good. I hope they got prosecuted for it.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things out there that we do as a church, not us as Elam Church, but as the church, that it starts out with on good faith, right? And then it grows into a monster, kind of like your kid when he's when Luke was a baby, and Luke's come. I'm sorry about it.
He is a monster.
I
No,
talk
that's
to you. I
good.
talk
Yeah,
about you all the
yeah.
time, and I'm sorry. You're just a good kid. He came to me. He's, Dad, you talked about me again on the podcast. When he was a kid, he was supposed to be our last one, right? So I was just like, whatever he wants, he can have. He's the last one, So I spoiled him. But there got to be a time when he was 6, 7 years old that all of that spoiling that I did became who he was, right? So then I had to adjust and say, okay, maybe this wasn't the greatest idea ever to spoil him and give everything it was. Good thing Luke's a good kid because he adjusted quick. But, that's the thing. Like, if we don't adjust, even though that it started out with good intent, somebody has to be there to reconcile what's happening. And I think when you get into especially larger churches, the gap between the pastor and the creative team, the pastor is no longer doing the reconciliation. You know what I mean, of every ministry. And I think that's where a lot of times it could go wrong.
Yeah, and what you're describing, you just kind of unpack that out just a little bit more. Now something that started out with good intention, and then it was starting to be reeled back, and some restrictions and some clarity started being added to what we're trying to achieve. Now what that becomes, it becomes a requirement, and then requirement gets elevated to tradition, and then now it's thus saith the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of church background I came out of, right? Where a lot of these things, a lot of these man-made rules were put in place because people made stupid decisions that affected other people. And then after one generation took it and preached it, then another one took that preaching, elevated it, and then now these things have become because God said don't do that. And it's like, no, he didn't. No, we didn't. We somebody messed up. A rule was made, and then a rule was deified, and then now we're in this tradition. And then whenever you get the young whippersnapper to come along and say, "I'm not going to do it like that," because that's not what God even intended. That's a man-made thing. Oh, you're breaking God's word. You're breaking it. And I think we find a lot of that on rinse and repeat in every church, really. The people that we get, right? God never said do that. Yeah, but God never said do that either.
Yeah. Just like statues that we have in church become, more than the church.
Yeah, and preaching is one thing. Like, I think preaching is actually easier for me to define a line on those things. But whenever you get into something maybe more creative based, like the worship team, we get criticized all the time. It's like, you guys are performing up there. It's like, why are we performing? Because we actually have people that can sing. We actually have people that can play an instrument. Now, because we bring a certain level of excellence to what God has called us to do, because you think it's a performative thing now because we do it well.
Yeah. It's performing because one person, the traditional worship is a worship leader is leading the worship. You're performing because you're spreading that around to 4 or 5 different people. Now you're performing, and I don't get it. I just don't get that, because if you change it, you leave all the musicians the same, and you have one person singing the whole time. It's not a performance anymore. I don't understand it, because I've asked, why do you think? Well, because that's exactly it, and they told me that, and I just like, and I challenged them. I'm just like, so you're saying just because there's not one singer that it's a performance? Yeah, you show me where that is anywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but it's tradition. It's what they know. That's like saying that the only anointed songs are that come out of the book, the maroon and blue books that are under the seat. That's not the only anointed song.
Yeah.
We're singing what do they call those hymns?
Yeah.
We're singing the future hymns today.
And everybody in the 1700s would look at that book that has a song that was written in the 1800s and say, wow, that sounds like rock and roll. And they would use another language, a term for it. But, those books were somebody else's rock and roll, somebody else's, defiance of traditionalism. That's what that book is too. And, for us, and then I've been the interim worship director now for 3 years, right? That's a big,
It's been 3 years.
Yeah. It's a big interim.
It's crazy, right?
But in that, and
Here he goes.
I'm thankful for what was done before, and everything that was taking place, and the foundations that were there, right? But it is indisputable, right, that the worship team now looks a lot more like this church.
Yeah, definitely.
And the vibrance, the freshness, right, that comes with that. The worship team looks like the church, and each one of these worship leaders, they serve in the church.
Yeah.
Before I was pastoring, I was helping out friends in their churches. I was getting paid even in some cases, right? $50 per service, and that's kind of the bare minimum for some of these churches. And these churches are also the ones that have 3-4 services a day, so you can clean up pretty nicely on a Sunday, right? But that circuit of musicians that I was in for a little bit, they're not faithful to their home church.
Right.
They're never there. So these musicians go up there just to play music, but they're not invested in the children's program. They're not invested in the youth. They're not invested in the coffee shop or on the greet
They
team.
might not even be invested in that service.
No, some of them are very questionable if they're even Christians, right?
We ain't running this back. Like we're stopping this song. Let's get through this so I can get out of here and get my check.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and they do that over and over. Everybody on that stage Sunday morning, they are invested in this church.
Yeah.
So and that's where we are worlds apart from a lot of other places. So I'm and I bring that up because it is a very passionate thing for me, because I think that's one area where I know some people have failed to see the benefit of what that is and how it's drawing young adults and young people. And
it's a hard thing. Listen, because I'm right there on the line, right? I still know what it is to be the youth pastor, but I also sometimes I'm like, man, this is getting loud. You know what I mean? Like I'm starting to think in my head what older people have told me over the years, and so I'm getting it. So I understand, and it's a fine line to balance. Like, how do you build a church for the future without leaving people behind? Because those are the cornerstones that you're now no longer serving in the corporate fashion, right? And for so long, the church has looked like to them that they're being served in the corporate fashion. Now you're taking that away from them, and they're like, whoa, this is not church anymore. So we have to figure how to do that, how to build for the future, but also saying, listen, you are so important to us. But it has to be intentional. It can't be one of those things like, oh, today we're just going to change and this is the way it's going to be. And all. It has to be intentional. It has to be one of those things like that we have to make sure, who is Mary Walker? To Mary, most people in our church today, Mary Walker is pastor's mom. Not a cornerstone of the church. She's a cornerstone. The Gordons, they're cornerstones of this church. Not just somebody that plays the guitar and then his wife sings in the choir. Those are cornerstones. Without them, this church doesn't look the way it looks. It doesn't last as long as it lasted. And so we have to do, as a church, we have to do better by showing them and reminding people who they are and how important they are as we move away from that time stamp in the church. You know what I mean? Then they don't feel so bad.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and kind of in the whole grand scheme of what we're talking about, and if churches aren't having those conversations and trying to move strategically, right, then somehow you end up with a sword swallower
yeah,
on stage.
exactly. The hardest thing is change,
Ain't serving nobody.
right? The hardest thing is change. But if you're constantly changing, change is not that hard. But it was when you do the same thing for 20 years and then you try to change, that's when it gets tough.
And that's just a whole nother question too, because even in the course of what God has called you to do, if you wholeheartedly believe God has called you to do anything, why isn't there innovation and rinse and repeat, kind of go back to the drawing board, what's working, what's not working? That's more an attribute of a hard-headed person than just saying, well, God called me to do this. Yes, but God also called you to move as well, to progress and not to stay dead. And there's nothing that, whenever it's stagnant, that's not the Lord anymore. It's
Right.
dead.
That's when your young adult ministry turns into your joy timers, right? Because y'all all move together. Well, the thing should have been is you should have brought somebody with you and handed that off as you went to the next. But so many times the church was just like, oh, look, as a stage, we're just all going to move together. As a stage, we're just all going to move together. And we don't backfill those positions. You would never see it corporately in a corporate world that you would never backfill a position.
No.
You would always hire, train, and then move on. And that's what we have to do in the church. It's the same exact thing. So we have to have, and that's on us. It's, as leaders, that's on us. We have to mentor. We have to see in that next generation who is the next Micah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who is that? Like, Micah's good for now, but who's the next one? And that's where we see Micah and we're like, okay, that's the future. No. That's the now.
That's the now.
We got to look past that. We got to look into your group on Wednesday night and go, which one of those, and begin to project. You know, and that's what we don't do good at as a church,
Corporate
church. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Was good.
Yeah, that's good. I don't
Good
think we
stuff,
should.
man. You almost made that crazy sound.
I almost
You
did.
caught
Yeah,
yourself.
Yep. All right, guys. Well,
Let's
I hope
wrap
you
it up.
enjoyed it, and we love ya.
This is the Refuge Project.